Welcome to the Thinking Stack.
Great to be here.
So let's talk about karma. Because, culturally it feels like the understanding has maybe gone a little sideways.
Oh, definitely. You hear it all the time.
All right.
People talking about it like it's some cosmic vending machine.
Yeah, like put in bad deeds, get out bad luck, a kind of spiritual Amazon return policy, but you get, I don't know, a rain cloud instead of a refund.
Exactly. Or, and this one really gets me, it gets used in this really, well, almost smug way.
How so?
Well, someone messes up or something bad happens to them and someone else just goes, oh, well, that's just their karma.
Right, zero empathy, just this sort of airy dismissal like it's some profound insight.
It becomes more about judgment than understanding, doesn't it? Like a way for the observer to feel superior.
Totally. The I told you so of the vaguely spiritual crowd, we've kind of boiled it down to this really simplistic and often pretty cruel explanation for why people suffer.
We've definitely lost something. The nuance is gone.
Yeah. So for this exploration, and this is the first part of 7 we're planning we want to try something, let's call it a cognitive cleanse.
A cognitive cleanse. I like that.
Let's try and strip away all that noise, all the assumptions, and focus on what might actually be true about karma, not just what we've inherited or what sounds comforting.
Agreed. Time to clear away some of that mystic fog and really dig into it. We'll be looking at the roots, ancient texts, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, Buddhist ideas, Jain scriptures too.
And bringing in modern science?
Yeah, seeing how it lines up with things like neuroscience, behavioral psychology. And we'll need to touch on related ideas like samskaras and also how this whole concept gets misused.
Okay, so where do we start this cleanse?
Right at the beginning,
Yeah.
the word itself, karma. It comes from the Sanskrit root kri.
Great.
Yeah, K-R-I. And it simply means to act or to do.
Wait, that's it?
That's the bedrock. Fundamentally, karma just means action.
Just action. But hang on, where's the cosmic judge? The fate, the preordained destiny part. Because that's not what most people think, right?
You're absolutely right. That common idea, judgment or fate, that's a layer added much later, or maybe a misunderstanding.
So if it's not an external judge, what is it?
Think of it more like an internal law of causality. It's closer to physics than a divine courtroom.
Physics? How?
Every action you take, especially if there's intention behind it, creates a consequence, a ripple effect.
Okay, ripples outwards.
Outwards, yes, but crucially inwards too, inside you. There's a line in the Bhagavad Gita that says something like, you cannot remain even for a moment without performing action.
We're always doing something.
Constantly, thinking, breathing, reacting. And all that doing leaves something behind, a kind of residue.
Residue. Okay, what kind of residue are we talking about? Like mental clutter, emotional dust bunnies.
Oh, maybe sometimes. But think of it more like an imprint, an impression left by the action.
An imprint?
Yeah. So say you lie to someone, or you perform an act of real kindness, or you feel intense anger. Those actions don't just affect the other person or the situation. They leave a trace within you.
Within me. Where?
In your nervous system, in your mind, even in how you see yourself, your identity. It shapes your internal landscape.
So our experiences are literally marking us. Like, nervous system graffiti.
That's actually a pretty good analogy, especially intense experiences, right? Rage, deep love, betrayal, profound forgiveness, they get recorded, wired in.
Treating these pathways, like shortcuts or default settings for how we react later.
Exactly. That's the key. Karma isn't just the action itself, the isolated event. It's the impression left behind by that action, and crucially, the intensity of the intention or the emotion involved.
And that impression then shapes what? Our future gut feelings, our instincts.
Yes, it predisposes you to react in certain ways down the line. And, there's a fascinating parallel in modern science.
Which is?
Hebbian learning.
Yeah.
The whole idea of neurons that fire together, wire together.
Ah, right. I've heard that.
It's basically a Western biological way of describing a core aspect of karma. Your repeated thoughts, your actions, even the things you consistently avoid or resist, they are actively sculpting your internal wiring.
Okay, so it's not just about the doing, but about who we become through the doing, through those repeated patterns and the feelings attached.
Precisely.
But is it? Is it all just in the mind, thoughts and intentions wiring us? Or is there more to it?
Well, it definitely extends beyond just the purely psychological. Intentions are huge, yes, but there's another layer.
Which
Think about inherited traits, biological predisposition.
inherited, like from our parents, our genes.
Exactly. Things like your basic temperament, are you naturally introverted, extroverted, your sensitivity to pain, how volatile your emotions can be, even hormonal tendencies. You can see these as a kind of biological karma.
The stuff we're born with.
Yeah, part of your genetic inheritance.
Yeah.
These factors influence how you naturally process stress, experience joy, deal with trauma. It's a sort of karmic starting point baked into your biology.
Okay, whoa. So our genes are like preloaded karmic software? That sounds a bit deterministic. Are we just stuck with that hand we were dealt?
Not at all. That's the crucial part. There's that saying, right? Genetics may load the gun, but conditioning pulls the trigger.
Okay.
And here's the really important bit. Awareness. Awareness is what allows you to notice the gun and maybe even choose to put it down.
So genes are conditions, not conclusions.
Beautifully put. They set a stage, they create tendencies, but they don't write the entire script. Karma really encompasses both nature, that genetic inheritance, and nurture, the environment, the culture, and crucially, the actions you repeatedly take.
Nature and nurture.
And the empowering part is that both can be influenced. Both can be altered through, well, deep, disciplined inner work. There's a line in the Chandogya Upanishad.
What does it say?
As is the seed, so is the sprout. Your biology is the seed, yes. But your actions, your choices, how you tend that seed, that determines what actually grows.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's our deliberate actions, the impressions they leave, the wiring they create, and our inherited biology. Now, what about the stuff we do without really meaning to?
Like what, for example?
Well, you know, unconscious biases popping up, or those knee-jerk reactions we have that maybe come from childhood stuff. Is that still karma if we weren't consciously deciding it?
Yes, absolutely yes. Because the mechanism doesn't actually require your conscious sign-off to operate.
It doesn't.
Nope. All it really needs is an impression being made and then some form of repetition, even if that repetition is happening below the level of conscious awareness.
Huh. So how does that work?
Think about how we just absorb things passively. Cultural norms, family dynamics, unspoken rules. This is the realm of what are called samskaras.
Samskaras, latent impressions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These absorbed patterns create a kind of latent programming inside you, sometimes called vasanas.
Vasanas, okay.
And this hidden programming then influences your future habits, your automatic reactions, the karma follow, or the fruit of the action. The Yoga Sutras say something really potent here.
Which is?
That these latent impressions, the samskaras, are the very root of our birth, our lifespan, and the kinds of experiences we have. So even those unconscious bits are actively shaping our reality.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just the big deliberate choices. It's this whole web of stimulus, ingrained reaction, unconscious programming. The whole system.
The whole system.
Could you maybe walk me through an example, like a full cycle, from an action to it becoming a pattern?
Sure. Let's take something relatable, unfortunately. Let's use betrayal.
Okay, betrayal.
So step one, an action. You betray someone's trust. Maybe you lie. Maybe you break a promise, whatever it is.
Right.
Step two, creation of an imprint. Because you did this, especially if it involved strong emotions, guilt, maybe fear of getting caught, maybe even a cold calculation. It creates a deep emotional imprint inside you.
Okay, the imprint, like the graffiti we talked about.
Yeah, exactly. Step three, wiring it in. This imprint doesn't just float around. It gets embedded in your nervous system, your psychological makeup, maybe through the sheer intensity of the event, or maybe you keep replaying it, ruminating on it. Neurons firing together.
Firing together. Got it.
Step four, automatic reaction. Later, maybe weeks, months, years later, you encounter a situation that feels even vaguely similar, or it just triggers those old feelings of guilt or fear. Because of that established wiring, you react automatically.
How?
Maybe you flinch away from intimacy. Maybe you tell a small, unnecessary lie out of habit. Maybe you become overly suspicious of others, projecting your own past actions onto them. It's an automatic defense or reaction based on the old program.
Okay.
Step five, more suffering. This automatic reaction coming from that old imprint often doesn't help. It causes more problems, maybe pushes people away, creates misunderstanding, causes more suffering for you or for others.
It backfires.
Step six, reinforcement. And that negative outcome, that suffering, it actually reinforces the original pattern.
Yeah.
It deepens the groove. It makes that nervous system response even more likely next time. The cycle strengthens itself.
That's the essence of it. It's not some outside force punishing the initial betrayal. It's more like the consequence is the pattern repeating itself. It's the internal training taking effect.
Precisely. It's a feedback loop within your own system, reinforced by thought, action, intention, and the circumstances that arise from them. It's self-perpetuation, often unconsciously.
Okay, so then why does understanding this version of karma, the non-cosmic judge version, why does it actually matter day to day? What's the practical point?
Okay, here's the real punchline, the core takeaway from this first layer.
Lay it on me.
Karma is not cosmic punishment. Karma is your unconscious loyalty to your past programming.
Wow, okay, say that again.
Karma is your unconscious loyalty to your past programming. It's the architecture of your internal operating system.
That really reframes things. So when bad stuff happens, that whole idea of, oh, you deserved it, or it's payback, that's just wrong.
Completely off. Utterly wrong-headed in this framework. Suffering very often arises not because you deserve it in some moral sense, but because you're caught in a pattern you haven't seen yet.
You haven't seen the programming.
Exactly. You're running an old program automatically, and that program consistently leads to painful outcomes. The pain is the result of running the program, not a punishment for starting it way back when.
Okay. And the moment you do see the pattern, when you become aware of that programming.
Well, that's where everything changes. Because once you see it, really see it, maybe feel it in your body, then the possibility of choosing something else emerges.
Choice comes back into the picture.
That's the potential for liberation. Awareness is the key modifier here.
So you don't escape karma.
Not exactly escape, it's more like you learn to metabolize it.
Metabolize it.
Yeah.
Digest it, sort of. You process it. You see the old pattern arising, the old urge, the old reaction. But because you're aware, you don't have to automatically follow it. You can choose presence instead. You dissolve the old patterns by consciously choosing differently, again and again.
So this whole cognitive cleanse idea is really about stripping away those illusions. The pop spirituality myths, the moral confusion, the feeling that we're just fated to repeat things.
Exactly. Getting down to the atomic truths of action and consequence within our own systems.
So if someone says, it's just your karma,
a potentially more empowered response could be, yeah, it was, and now I'm consciously choosing a new one.
because it's not a fixed cage.
It's more like the starting code.
Yeah.
And consciousness, awareness, your deliberate choices, now that's the upgrade path.
That makes sense, and I know different traditions see it slightly differently. Oh, absolutely. Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, they all have their nuances. Hinduism talks about different types of karma accumulated, ripening now, being created. Buddhism really emphasizes the intention behind the action. Jainism even views karma as a kind of subtle, physical substance.
And psychology looks at it too.
Modern psychology studies how just believing in karma can affect your behavior, your sense of control, how you cope. But for today, for this first layer, the main goal was just clearing the ground, getting rid of those core misunderstandings.
Right. So layer one recap, karma is fundamentally action,
And the lingering impressions or imprints that action leaves,
which shape our internal world, our wiring, our instincts.
influenced by both our biology and our repeated habits, conscious or unconscious.
And crucially, it's not some external judge handing out sentences.
It's an internal process of cause and effect, of patterns forming and repeating.
So layer one was about asking, well, what is actually true here, based on the roots and the observable dynamics?
Cleaning the lens so we can start to see the patterns, understand the code.
See the structure of our own operating system.
Precisely.
Right.
Which leads us directly into the next part of this.
Okay, so that wraps up layer one, cognitive cleanse, getting past the myths. Up next on the thinking stack.
Part 2, moral karma. How ethics wire your future.
Ooh, okay. So we'll be looking at
How things like guilt, judgment of ourselves and others, even maybe trying to appear virtuous when or not, how those ethical dimensions actually play into creating and reinforcing these karmic patterns. How our moral compass shapes the wiring.
Got it. Looking forward to digging into that.